Is King Arthur's keto flour the missing ingredient for the perfect low-carbon, keto-friendly pizza? Let's find out. Can I help you?
Hello, good sir. I bring a message from the king himself.
The king?
He wishes you to join his royal court in the quest for the Grail.
The Grail? The Grail?
Yes, the Grail itself. And with it he sends his personal recipe and some of his finest keto flour.
Very own flour, huh? Let's do this.
That will be $10.99.
Mike, can you spot me? Thanks.
Thank you, fine sir. You may proceed.
All right.
And so we begin with a scale in a bowl. We're going to measure out 200 grams of King Arthur's keto flour. Always use a scale if possible. Next, we need some instant yeast, no proofing necessary, except each one of these packets equals 2¼ teaspoons, way more than we need. Measure out 1 teaspoon and add it to the flour. After, we need some Parmesan cheese. I avoid using pre-shredded cheese as it has additives to prevent caking, which consequently can affect whatever it is you're baking. We need 1/4 cup, which comes out to roughly 13 grams. Add this to the other dry ingredients and then make sure to clean because ants.
Ants?
Back in the middle, we add 1/2 teaspoon of sodium chloride and an optional 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning.
1 teaspoon pizza dough flavor. Mike, you ever hear pizza dough flavor? Me either. Isn't that just pizza flavored? So I'm gonna mix this and then I'm gonna add the wet ingredients and knead it. However, I don't feel like getting my hands dirty, so use the tools your mama gave you. Just kidding, she didn't give me this. This is actually hers. It's knead.
But before we knead, I like to make sure my dry ingredients are well mixed. These dry ingredients then go directly into the mixing bowl, careful not to inhale because no one likes to cough. Then we add our cool filtered water. Try not to use tap water as it might impart an odd taste and can also potentially kill your yeast. A little bit of olive oil, which honestly seems too little for the recipe, but then it's time to mix. You can also mix and knead by hand, to which it will likely take about 10 minutes. I, however, am going to use the kneading hook. And if for some reason you thought by now I know that the cable on this mixer is too short, you'd be 100% incorrect. I get it wrong every single time.
Knead for 5 minutes. You think medium speed?
I believe that to be a noble choice.
We start kneading somewhere in the middle and run it for 5 minutes. Over that time, the dough will go from dry to drier to hydrated.
Now this looks pretty bouncy, which is exactly where we need it to be. It smells good. However, the instructions aren't clear whether we should put this in a warm area to rise or not, so I'm just gonna cover it and leave it on the counter. And in the meantime, let's talk about the ingredients in this flour. Vital Wheat Gluten Wheat Protein King Arthur Unbleached Flour, which is composed of wheat flour, malted barley flour, wheat fiber, whey, sunflower oil, buttermilk, cellulose gum, and natural flavor. Needless to say, if you're allergic to wheat or gluten, this is not something you're going to be trying anytime soon.
What individuals are bested by a loaf of bread except those of weak moral character and celiacs?
You do understand the ingredient zealots to come after us with these ingredients, right?
Then I shall smite them down in the name of the king.
Sounds good to me.
I have but one small query for you, sir.
What you got?
What is the ground speed of an American Gallus Gallus domesticus?
After letting the dough rest for 60 minutes somewhere that's not too cold and not too warm, and especially out of sunlight, which I don't have to worry about, it's time to take a peek.
Got a little bigger.
That's what she said.
So this has risen a little bit, but not too much. Probably expect it to rise a little bit more, but we're gonna go ahead and shape it. We're gonna use a baking sheet because we could use a cast iron pan, but this is a little bit more common and a little bit easier.
To prep the baking sheet, we add some olive oil and make sure that it's nicely coated, sides and all. Then we pull our pizza dough out onto our hands. Personally, I like to roll and pinch it to make it a smoother dough as it stretches out the gluten and gives it a bit smoother texture. Then onto the baking sheet it goes. Using our fingers, we gently work our way around the dough, pressing it out, not rolling, just gently using our fingertips to stretch it. And yes, you are witnessing magic. You want to make a pie that's roughly 12 inches wide with a nice border for a crust.
So now we have this basically set up, we're gonna let it sit for about 30 minutes covered. Again, it doesn't specify warm or hot. We're gonna let it rise again because low carb flours always kind of struggle with this. In the meantime, prepare our oven. We're gonna set the firebox to 450 degrees American and use the thermometer to ensure we have the right temperature once we finally put the pizza in. And don't forget to set a timer. Not bad.
Now it's time for the final preparations. Add a little bit of pizza sauce on top. You could also add the sauce on top of the cheese, but I like to see how the dough behaves with the extra moisture.
And some cheese.
Low moisture mozzarella is the best cheese for pizza, hands down. You could add a lot more cheese and a bunch of other toppings, but I like to test pizza doughs with the very basic cheese pizza. And then into the oven it goes for 15 minutes for observation. Let it get nice and brown, but not too brown, otherwise, well, it'll be burnt pizza.
That's a little stuck.
I recommend placing the cooked pie in a cooling rack as that will prevent it from getting too soggy on the bottom. Also try to avoid putting it on your heating pad because that's not fun to clean. Overall, the crust seems very promising, good color, decent structure, and the bottom looks to have some crisp, and so it's time to taste test. Overall, the dough has great air pocket formation. It also smells pretty good and has good structure. Definitely not New York style foldability, but it can suffice.
What do you know? An ingredient salad. Boo. That's what I thought.
Boop. It's very like wheat flour, whole wheat flour. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Yeah, not bad, but not great.
But it's of the king's finest.
Well, for as expensive it is, I think it'd be a little bit better, especially the king's recipe himself. Pretty sure we can make this better. We can make this better.
And so, along with the mix of my Pizza 2.0 recipe, I penned a response to King Arthur. Arthur, you trusted Sir Knight with your message, and so shall I. I would be honored to join you on our mutual quest for the Grail. Although disappointed in your flower, I believe that together we can make tremendous leaps and bounds. Sir Charles returns with great haste, and with him a list of those worthy enough to join alongside us as we embark on this adventure. The hour grows long, and the zealots await at our gates. The quest for the Holy Grail has just begun.
Is King Arthur's keto flour worth the tummy?
What am I supposed to do? Beat myself over the head? Should have given him a real southern accent. But it's but the king's finest.